Okay, so again, another way to look at opposite numbers is two numbers that are same distance away from 0 on a number line. So let me get this a little higher for you. And you know, the example -3 and +3, pretty simplistic. By the way, remember, whatever I write on the screen is supposed to go in your notes. I expect you to be taking notes as I'm giving notes. If you're not going to be taking notes, that's going to be a problem, all right? So make sure you are writing and taking notes. Scarf? Yeah, it's not the place for them, is it? You better get out a sheet of paper and write it on paper and then transfer it to your notes when you're done, because they don't belong in your life. So opposite numbers are the same distance from 0 on a number line. So, you know, you can see if you look at -3, so take your pen and put a dot on -3. That's usually how we show a number on a number line. And then I'm just going to use my red. And how far away from 0 is -3? And I hope you would agree that it's 3 spaces away from 0, right? That's the distance from -3 to 0. Well, if we put a dot on +3, we can do the same thing, right? So again, up above, I'm trying to show that 3 is also 3 spaces away from 0. And so another relationship of opposite numbers is that they're the same distance from 0 on the number line. So -3 is 3 away, +3 is 3 away. They're both 3 away from 0 on the number line. Now I can see some of you guys are a little slow in taking your notes, and hopefully you'll get better. Be thankful that these days you get most of it already on your notes, but you do need to be careful. You should start writing when you hear what I'm saying. And look, remember, I think I talked to you guys about this yesterday. If all you're doing is copying, you're going to be in trouble. You don't copy in math. Anybody know the next word? Begins with a T. Think. You think. If you copy, you're not going to know what's going on. You won't. You won't have a clue if you're just copying stuff. You have to think. You have to listen to the words I'm using and think about it so you can do it. Now, occasionally, will you need to look up to see that you're doing it? Sure. But you need to think. Don't just copy. If you just copy, you're not learning a thing. You've got to be thinking. So make sure you're thinking. All right, and look, we can pick any number we want. 47 and -47, they're both the same distance from 0. Right? You can do fractions. 1/2 and -1/2, they're the same distance from 0. You can do mixed numbers. -7 3/8 and +7 3/8, same distance from 0. You can do variables. Z and -Z. Now, I don't know how far away they are, but I know they're the same distance. All right? They're opposite numbers, they're the same distance from 0 on a number line. Now, when you learn math, it's also important that you learn the language of math. And so, just one thing of language. The opposite of a number is called its additive inverse. The opposite of a number is called its additive inverse. And I think you guys have an example below this, right? Example, the additive inverse, or the opposite of -12 would be what? 12. Is 12. So just stick 12 in that blank, right? So 12 and -12 are opposite numbers. 12 is the additive inverse of -12. -12 is the additive inverse of 12. 4 is the additive inverse of -4. Class, what's the additive inverse of 7? Okay, so when I say class and you see me do like this, I want you to just out loud tell me. All right, so what's the additive inverse of -5/8? 5/8 or +5/8, you could say it either way, right? Get the idea? All right, give me a tricky one. You may not know the answer. Give me the additive inverse of 2y. -2y, right? Positive, negative, right? Additive inverses. Okay. All right. We'll get better at that as time goes on. So let's go on to the next thought is absolute value. Absolute value. A-B-S-O-L-U-T-E. Absolute value. A-B-S-O-L-U-T-E. Let me see your hand if you have an idea of what absolute value is. Okay, just one. Okay. So obviously something that our 6th grade curriculum didn't care for in our 7th grade. All right. When you see the word absolute value, did I hear something?
I said I did this last year.
Okay. When you see absolute value, this is what you have to get in your mind. You got to get in your mind the idea of distance. When you see absolute value, you have to think distance. Now, this is a definition you should know. And don't be surprised if you don't see this as a question on your quiz and a question on your test. I mean, Mr. Scarfi, you're going to ask us words on a math test? Yeah. Yeah, I am. Because you have to know the language of math to understand math, especially when someone's talking about math. If I use the word the term absolute value, if you don't know what it is, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. And so I will definitely ask you that definition. So that's something you need to know. You need to know absolute value is the distance a number is away from 0. The symbol is 2 vertical lines. That's the symbol for absolute value. It's 2 vertical lines. And you know what? Let me do my shade here so I can focus your attention. All right, so the symbol is 2 vertical lines. So our first example is, so if you were looking at this, this is what your brain should say to you. Oh, I see the 2 vertical lines. Therefore, I'm looking for the absolute value of -4. Would you agree that's what we're looking for? And so then your brain says this. Oh, how far away from 0 is -4? And how far away is -4 from 0, class? It is 4. So the answer should be 4. Because -4 is 4 away from 0. That's what absolute value means. How far is the thing from 0? Now, if we use the number line, let's put a dot on -4. All right, so there's our -4. I put a green dot on the -4. And now up above, I'm going to figure out how far it takes to get to 0. And sure enough, right? -4 is 4 away. That's why the absolute value of -4 is 4. Because -4 is 4 away from 0. So absolute value, the distance a number is away from 0. Is absolute value the same as opposite numbers? No. Don't get them confused. They are 2 different things. They're similar at times, but they're different as well. So be careful there. Some students try to think that they're the same and therefore they get in trouble. So second example, C in your notes. So don't say anything yet because I want you to think. And remember, you got to think in this class. So what's the absolute value of 4? Don't say anything. What is the absolute value of 4? All right, so on 3, I want everybody out loud to give me an answer, okay? And don't worry, everybody will be talking at once, so whatever you say will be fine. But at 3, when I say 3, give me your answer. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
-4.
Okay, so some people are very confident and nice and loud, which is fine, and other people, but it sounded like everybody participated, which is awesome. I think I heard 2 answers. It was hard because, you know, some people were really loud and they kind of gathered my attention. So don't write anything yet. But I believe I heard -4, and I also believe I heard 4. Now, did I hear anything other than those 2? Anybody have anything other than -4 or 4? Okay. So, are both of those correct? No. So one of them's correct and one of them's wrong. Now, you have to think in math. So we got to figure out which one is correct and which one's not. Now, I clearly heard -4 because that was the loudest one. So who are my -4 people? All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 -4s. All right. And therefore, then who are my 4 people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Okay, so The answer's got to be -4 because the majority is always correct, right?
No.
Isn't the majority always correct?
No.
Oh, they're not?
The world's all different, but Christians don't agree with them.
All right. The majority isn't always correct, and definitely in math, you never know. So don't go by majority because that doesn't prove anything, all right? We don't know. Just because 13 say -4, it might be, but it might not. The minority has 4. All right. What I also like to do in class a lot is try to debate your cause. So I want somebody from the -4 camp to explain to the class why they think the answer is -4. Debate their cause. All right, Mason, go ahead. Why do you think it's -4?
I think it's -4 because in the first example, -4 equals 4, and so since it's the opposite now, 4 has to equals -4.
Okay. All right, so that's his reasoning. Now I want somebody to debate the cause for +4, why you think it's 4. John, you want to debate that cause?
Yeah, so you, from -4, the distance is 4, but it would be the same distance if 4 was to 0. -4 to 0 is 4, but it would also be the same distance if 4 it's the same distance from 0.
Okay, so now you heard an explanation from the -4 camp and an explanation from the +4 camp. And like any good Baptist, we want to have an invitation right now, all right? So, just as I am without one plea, some of you need to convert, right? You need to convert. Because either 13 people are wrong or 8 people are wrong. And if you're stubborn and stay with your wrong answer, either 13 people are going to be wrong or 8 people are going to be wrong. So you just heard explanations. Does anybody want to convert from your view to the opposite view? Do you want to convert? Did they convince you? Did Mason convince you to go to -4? Did John convince you to go to +4? Theodore, which way you want to go?
4.
You're converting the 4? Yes, ma'am.
4.
Another convert to 4? Any other converts? The invitation's open. Right now it's 11 to 10. No one else converting? Does that mean you're very stubborn, or does that mean you're just so sure of yourself? Or does that mean you didn't think of the explanations? Now, let me do this too before we go any further. Notice when I got to that 4, I spent a little bit of time trying to convince you, and I said words to these effects. Opposite value and opposite numbers are 2 different things. Didn't I say that to you?
Yes.
Did you consider that when you chose your answer? Did you consider that when Mason gave his response and John gave his response? Any other converts before we close it here? Which way you going, Aaron? Going 4? Kelsey? Uh-oh, we're on a roll. Jocelyn, 4? Anybody else going 4? 4, 4, 4, 4, 4?
Let me hand that to you.
Anybody hanging with -4? Mason was the chief one, so he's hanging in there. All right, Michael's hanging with him. He's his bud. All right, John gave the explanation. You know, how far is 4 away from 0? And I got to tell you, 4 is 4 away from 0. And the answer is 4, not -4. Because absolute value is different than opposite numbers. So notice, the absolute value of -4 is +4, and the absolute value of +4 is +4. That's the reality. And here's the key. Distance is always positive. Distance is always positive. In math, distance is always positive. You can have a direction, but it's always positive. So in that respect, it's going to be positive, and so be careful there. All right, so go ahead and do example 1 and 2 there. Do 1 and 2. Just take you a second, write an answer. If you got it wrong, you can just cross it out and write in the correct answer. Go ahead, do 1 and 2. All right, so class, the absolute value of -7 is?
7.
And the absolute value of 19 is? 19, right? How we doing now? Better? All right.
They all converted to.
All right, yes, the converts. All right, try 3 and 4. Try 3 and 4. So number 3, the absolute value of -5.17 is?
5.17.
5.17. Uh-oh, the absolute value of 0 is?
0.
Yeah, that one 0 is 0. All right. All right, couple other thoughts here. Sometimes you can have a little bit more to deal with the absolute value. So just think about this. Before taking the absolute value, all operations must be performed inside the symbol. Remember, an operation is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, those things. Michael, question?
Is that blocking?
Yeah, it could be blue. It really doesn't matter. As long as it's not red or green, you can use black, you can use blue, whichever floats your boat. So here's the point. On number 1, you got to do 12 minus 3 before you take the absolute value. So look, in a two-step problem like this only takes a second. Show me this work step. Just show me the 12 minus 3, right? I had to get to a single number inside the absolute value. And now I can finish the question, right? So class, what's the absolute value of 9? 9, and we're done, right? So I had to do 12 minus 3 first, and then I'm able to do 9. So same thing with 2, right? Hopefully we think 24 minus 6 is 18, and the absolute value of 18 is 18. All right. So let me ask you this. No matter what happens, when you do absolute value, your answer is going to be positive, yes?
Well, you just told us yes, but I don't think so.
All right. Let's take a look at 3. So 3 really has 2 parts to it. On number 3, let me use my blue here. I've got this first absolute value of negative 7 part. So class, what's the absolute value of negative 7? 7. But we still have this red negative in front of it. So this is going to end up with an answer of negative 7 because there's an additional thing happening to it after you take the absolute value. Now, by the way, some of you may have learned in the past, a negative is a
Positive.
So wait a minute, if we do that rule, don't write this. If we do that rule, do we then end up with positive 7? Is it an enigma? All right, and here's the reality. A negative is a positive, but this is not that situation. And I just tell students it's this simple. Absolute value is like a wall. Things inside can't get out until you take the absolute value of them. Things outside don't go in. You got a wall. So that negative's outside, it's going to stay outside. You got to deal with the absolute value thing, and then what's outside gets dealt with what's left. And that's why we end up with negative 7. We did the absolute value of negative 7, got 7, and now we have a negative in front of it. So you can see number 4, the same idea, right? So this would be negative the absolute value of 30. Do you agree?
No.
I'm not done yet. That's just the first step, right? I did the 5 times 6. Now what's the absolute, here I'll use a little color here. What's the absolute value of 30? 30, but again, we still have the negative sign in front, so the final answer to that is negative 30. And only because there was a negative in front of the absolute value symbol. Only because of that. All right, we got to finish up with a few inequality symbols. All right, so number 4 is use the inequality symbols. Inequality is I-N-E-Q-U-A-L-I-T-Y. I-N-E-Q-U-A-L-I-T-Y. Use the inequality symbols to compare the numbers. All right, so before we do that, I better make sure you know which is which. So the symbol for A, somebody raise their hand and tell me what that's the symbol of. What does that mean? What does it mean? Michael? How many agree it's greater than? Okay, and therefore the other one is less than? Okay, how many agree with that? How many disagree? Uh-oh, here we go again. All right, only one though. So Who disagrees? Oh, don't be afraid to be the only one. Come on, I know who you are. Put your hand up high if you disagreed. Come on, get it up there.
Math class, civil.
Ah, come on. All right, I'll let you off the hook today. But I want to tell you, never be afraid to disagree. Now, listen to the arguments, but you might be right because the one person is right. The A is the less than. And the right one, the B, is the greater than.
That's right.
Now, unfortunately, some of you guys learned alligators eating things, right?
Yes, that's what I thought like.
Oh, I hate the alligator thing. It's so stupid. But anyhow, such is life. You know, some of the parrots, I've heard all kinds of lions, you know, eating stuff. And I'm like, why are they teaching that it's lions eating things? Look, let me just in 2 seconds show you what the symbol is. Let me do the red one. Are you ready? What is the symbol really?
Going back.
It's an arrowhead. That's an arrow.
You know what I mean?
The symbol is an arrowhead. It's the head of the arrow. Which way is the red one pointing?
Left.
And what happens when you go left on a number line?
You go down.
You go smaller, right? That's the less than.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, that's because that's what it is. That's why it makes sense.
And then I got everything wrong.
And going right is bigger, and that's why it's the greater than. It's an arrowhead. All right, so believe me, you aren't the first ones. A lot don't know it. Okay. So now that you know what it means,
I feel like that one person did it just to disagree with the whole class.
no, believe me. No, I don't think so. I know that
But who
person.
was it, first?
Ah, you'll never know. I know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They were right. And the point is, you might sometimes be the only one correct. Don't be afraid. Look, and let me throw one more thing out there. All right, so girls play baseball these days too. All right, there's a couple kinds of people. For me, if it was the bottom of the 9th inning, there were 2 outs, the bases were loaded, and we were losing by 1 run, I would want to be at bat. I would want to be the one up. Because I would say, oh yeah, baby, I'm going to be the hero. I'm driving in that winning run. A lot of times I didn't in the situations I was in. That's where I would look at it. Oh yeah, my time. Gonna be the hero. Let me at it. But look, a lot of people get up and like, oh no, I'm gonna lose the game for the team. And they're all worried. Now, by the way, who has a better chance of getting a hit? The guy that's confident or the guy that's worried?
The guy's so confident.
The guy that's confident, because he's focused. The warrior's like thinking of 1,000.
Like Dante will be like,
I was past
beat
that.
you anyway.
So okay, so shh. So what's the analogy? Why do I even bring that up? Look, no guts, no glory. You want to be the one person that's right, and like everybody's like, ooh. Well, you gotta be willing to be out there and go for it and say, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. So be willing to go for it. Look, honestly, I'll tell you a quick story, real quick. Don't want to take a lot of time. This guy, don't pack up, Michael. We're not done. Put your backpack under there. Stop. Just stop, Alex. Stop. Listen. We're not done. So this guy, he wanted to be successful, and he wanted to open up a candy store, and he opened it up, I think, in Chicago, and it failed. And he moved, and I can't remember all the places he moved now, but it's like he moved to this state and it failed, and he moved to that state and it failed, and he moved to this state and it failed, and he moved to that state and it failed. He just kept being a failure over and over and over and over again. He moves to Pennsylvania and he says, you know what, I think I'm just going to start concentrating on chocolate. The guy's name was Milton Snavely, and he changed from all kinds of different candies to chocolate, and some of you guys have been in his amusement park, right? And you definitely eat his candy. Yeah, it's Hershey.
that, is that that Willy Wonka?
No, it was Hershey.
Well, he might have changed.
But look, here's the point. He failed and failed and failed and failed, but you know what? He tried and tried and tried. So again, it's never wrong to try. Again, if you differ, go for it. You might be right. All right, enough of that. Go ahead and put in the symbol for CD, and that should be E. CD and E. Do you have CD and C, or is yours an E?
Yeah, it's C, D, and C.
All right, so change it to an A. All right, fill in the symbol. Go ahead and do it. Shh. Put in your symbols. Which one's where? What's what? Use the less than or use the greater than to do those in order. Give you another minute. Then I got to talk to you, and we're out of here. All right, so on the left one, what symbol, for C, which symbol did you use? Less than. -7 is less than 2. For D, which one did you use? Greater than. Remember, the more negative you get, the smaller the number. And on the last one, which one did you use? Greater than. All right, so be careful with your symbols. We'll deal with them a whole lot more. Okay, I got something to pass out to you. You need to listen to me very carefully. If you want to start packing up, you can, but you need to listen to me carefully. So pass these back. Keep this out. Now, when you do homework tonight, you're going to have... Wait a minute. When you do homework, are you going to have your notes with you?
Yes.
Yes, you need them because they have the odd answers in the back. And they'll also help you with stuff. Are you going to have your book? Yeah, because your book has the questions in it. So you need that. So make sure everybody has one. Raina, do you have an extra? You just bring it up, put it on the desk. And give you 30 seconds, and I need everybody to listen to me.